the three words chokhmah, bina, and da'at. Chokhmah means wisdom, bina translates as understanding, and da'at means as knowledge. And we'll have a little summary, then a little hands-on exercise that we're going to do in order to summarize the chapter 3 that we have learned. So who wants to read from here on the first page? Give it to your mother, she likes reading.
From here?
Yeah, Chabad, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Chabad, the intellectual faculties, are called mothers and source of the midot, for the latter offspring of the former. This Chokhmah and Bina are the very father and mother which give birth to love of God and awe and dread of Him. That is, one binds his mind with a very firm and strong bond to and firmly fixes his thought on the greatness of the blessed Ein Sof, without diverting his mind from Him. Not even one who is wise in understanding of the greatness of the blessed Ein Sof will not, unless he binds his knowledge and fixes his thought with firmness and perseverance, produce in his soul true love and fear, but only vain fancies. Therefore, the At is the basis of the Midot and the source of all vitality.
So, we're going to continue. We're going to continue. We'll read the next 2 pages, and then we'll open it up to discussion. What was now was the literal translation of the words of Tanya. Let's continue a little bit more, which will summarize it very well. This is taken from Hayom Yom. Next page.
The early sages, who were like angels, may their merit protect them, have already determined that the healing of the soul is like the healing of the body. The crucial first step is to identify the location of the illness, whether it is caused by the crassness, grossness, and corruption of the physical body, or by the failing of his soul powers. The person being inclined to undesirable traits like arrogance and falsehood and the like, or the source of the malady may be habit, inadequate rearing, or unwholesome environment having brought on bad habits. Without ascertaining the specific site of the illness and the cause of the infection, it is impossible to embark on a cure. One can only prescribe an orderly, proper conduct in all matters. What to do and what to avoid. To do good in terms of observing mitzvah, designating times for Torah study, and acquiring good character traits, and also to turn away from evil. Most urgent of all, however, is that the patient make himself aware of 2 things. A. To know that he is ill, and desire most fervently to be cured of his malady. And B. To know that he can be cured with hope and absolute trust with God's help. He will indeed be cured of his sickness. Points to remember. Recognition and emotion are only an offshoot from the intellect and the brain. It is the natural build of the body that the brain controls the emotions. Learning is only the beginning. Hayom Yom. My father, the Rabbi Rashab, proclaimed in a Farbrengen,
which means a Hasidic social get-together.
Farbrengen. Just as wearing tefillin every day is a mitzvah commanded by the Torah to every individual regardless of his standing in Torah, whether deeply learned or simple, so too is it an absolute duty for every person to spend a half hour every day thinking about Torah, education, and children, and to do everything in his power and beyond his power to inspire children to follow the path along which they are being guided. 11. Sivan. From my father's talks, the avodah of serving God according to Hasidus comprises all kinds of levels. The level of corpse does not need much elaboration, but thank God that there is also revival of the dead in the spiritual avodah. A corpse is cold. There is nothing as frigid as natural intellect, human intellect. When one's natural intelligence comprehends a godly concept and the emotions latent in intellect are enthused and moved by the pleasure within intellect, that is true revival of the dead. 16. Heshvan. Thought is a garment and servant of the intellect and emotions. Even when it is not serving the intellect and emotions, it continues to function thinking and meditating. However, this activity is then not only devoid of content, but also open to depravement. It is explained that alien and evil thoughts are caused by emptiness of the head. For when the mind is occupied, the thought has something to serve, and there is no room for stupid and vain thoughts devoid of substance.
Okay, so before we go on to the exercise, could anyone summarize in one or two sentences, what did we read in the last 3 pages? There is a lot of details, but what is the punchline?
I think that spiritual health is predicated upon the brain leading the emotions, and that this brain is being preoccupied with love and fear of God, with the godly thoughts and godly activities, and leading the emotions in the right path.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, analytical understanding is not enough. What one has to have is awareness of the situation, and then the faith and the courage, the strength to embrace the situation, to be able to get out of the situation by taking the right path.
Okay, very good. Anyone else?
Knowledge brings to understanding, which brings to expansion of controlling emotions, and which in turn leads us in the right direction that we want to go.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Okay, you've said it. There is a lot of details in what we learned, but the punchline of all of them is that where does it start? In the head. If one wants to deal with a problem, you need to go to the source in order to be able to rectify the problem, the issue, whatever it is. And that's at any level, in relationships, in health, in any case. That's the approach. You need to get to the bottom of it, to the depth of it, to the source of it, in order to be able to analyze, and in order to be able to do it right, other than just putting a little Band-Aid and taking a Tylenol, but other than a Tylenol or a Band-Aid, if you want to deal with it, that it shouldn't come back and that you should deal with it really, you need to get to the source of it. And what is the source of everything? Chabad. So who is in fault of everything that is going on in the world? Chabad. Chabad is to be blamed for everything. Because everything comes from wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Now, to emphasize, to elaborate a little bit more before we'll go to the exercise, to the exercise of it is the following: the details within Chokhmah, Binah, and Da'at, between the three faculties of wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. So, we at the beginning in the text of the Tanya, in the first page, it explained that that those are the parents, the father and the mother who are giving birth to the emotions. So let's turn back to the main page, to the first page, and with the chart, where the chart has the Kabbalistic image of what is known as the 10 Sfirot, the 10 manifestations of creation of the world, as well as the 10 manifestations of the Olam Katan Zeh Adam, of the small world which is the human being, in the words of Eov, of Job. That we are an image of what's happening in the world, in the big world. So the big world was created by the 10 manifestations that make up the world, and the human being as well. So the three on top are in blue is Chokhmah, Binah, and Da'at. On the one side, wisdom. On the other side, understanding. And they're being combined into the one in the middle, which is Da'at, which is knowledge. The Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya that the middle is the union of and the intimacy between the father and the mother, between the wisdom and understanding. Once there is a union between an intimacy between the father and the mother, then it gives birth to the children, which are in red, and those are the emotions and the rest of the makeup of the body. And we could study it on another occasion, how the Zohar is elaborating beautifully in the image of how humankind is created, where Chokhmah, Binah, and Da'at, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge is here. Chesed, the kindness, is the right hand, and Gvura, severity, is the left hand, and so on and so forth, describing every part of the body, how it's connected to all the 7 attributes and emotions. But basically, in a nutshell, what this is saying is the following. Of course, there cannot be a physical child being born, come to the world, without intimacy of the father and the mother. It's impossible. There is only one in the world that didn't have a mother. But other than that, it doesn't exist. So, I'm sorry. What? Who, Adam and Eve? Ah, okay. Okay. That's not the one I was talking about, as you could imagine.
They say why Adam lived for so many years because he didn't have a mother-in-law.
So that's why he lived 930 years. Yes. But in this case, the emotions are there to a certain extent. Let's not get there now, but to a certain extent, they're there. It's still everything originates in the brain, because brain is the source of life, and that's where it starts. But practically what we're talking about here in chapter 3, that what the Alter Rebbe is explaining here is that the attributes, our feelings, our emotions, our action, and in turn our action, could be wild and not controlled without leadership of and guidance of the father and the mother. When the father and the mother, when Chokhmah and Binah are uniting and becoming one in that, connecting with the concept, that has then an impact on our feelings and emotions to be directed in the right direction and to be and to do what is right. Again, to be brief, and we've learned it, but to be brief, what it's saying is the following: Chokhmah, wisdom, and it's very, very hard to translate literally and fully the words Chokhmah, Binah, and Da'at in any other language. Even in Hebrew, it's very hard to translate the real meaning of it. But the real meaning of Chokhmah in the context of Torah and Kabbalah and mysticism and Hasidic philosophy is Chokhmah is the concept. The concept. Binah is the elaboration and the building on the concept. So Chokhmah is the father, a concept, and the mother builds on it, builds on the concept. The two together, when the Adam yada et Chava, the way the Torah describes the first marriage and giving birth to children, Adam knew Chava, and she got pregnant, and they gave birth to their children. Generally speaking, by people knowing each other, we don't give birth. I hope not. Not everyone that knows each other, suddenly there are children coming out. It takes more than just knowing each other. So why does the Torah refer to marriage and to intimacy as knowing? Because knowing is connecting with it, connecting with the concept, connecting with understanding, not only understanding. There is a difference, the way we learned it a few weeks ago. I understand you could mean, yeah, I understand you. I understand, but it's exterior to me. Has nothing to do with me. I understand, but leave me alone. I know is a much deeper, knowing is a much deeper connection with the concept. We need to know, we need to connect the Chokhmah and the Binah in order to have impact and influence on how we feel and how we behave. So if you remember, we learned about the daily prayer that we need to say twice a day, and that is on the mezuzahs of our doors, and that is on the tefillin that we put on, and we are born with that. As soon as a child is born, we say the Shema with the child. Before that, we say the Shema. What is the Shema? Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad is wisdom and understanding. Shema Yisrael, listen Israel. The word Shema in Hebrew means also gathering. In the Tanakh we have the word Shamea et ha'am, means gather the people. Gather your thoughts. Shema means get into it. Listen. Get into it and gather it in your mind. That's wisdom and understanding. And knowledge. That means connecting with it. Following Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, what follows? Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha. Know your God. That's how the Torah puts it. You cannot love God before Shema. If one loves God before learning, it's a very superficial love. It's just an entry. It's just an entryway. It's just on the surface. And I think I mentioned it in the previous class on this subject, that this is one of the major problems and challenges in our generation, of the plague of lack of commitment and divorces and so on and so forth. Not in every case, but in many cases. Why? Because people fall in love and they follow their heart and they think that's where it is. So then 10 years later or 5 years later, it's not anymore the person I knew. It's not anymore the person that I fell in love with.
Didn't know them.
What?
Didn't know them.
I didn't know them, and I know now what I didn't know then. And things have changed. So the love was very superficial. So, and there was no building with understanding and connecting with our mind on this relationship. As a result, it falls apart. The love is not a lasting love. So Hasidus is encouraging us that when one gets emotionally warm to God, and it happens to many of us at many times or at all occasions, we get an awakening that we don't know where it's coming from. We get emotional. We want to get closer to something greater than us, to godliness, to Torah, to mitzvahs, to do a mitzvah, and it feels good. What happens in the most cases after 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, usually not longer, maybe 5 years, and I don't think it lasts so much, it falls apart and people go back to their regular routine. What happened? So the Alter Rebbe explains that what happened was very simple. Was a spark of a emotional spark that came in to us. I want to get involved. I fell in love. For whatever reason. Many reasons that bring to it. But make it happen. Whatever the reason might be, many reasons. If I don't take advantage of that moment and start with that superficial emotional relationship that developed, that came in, and I don't make sense of it with the chokhmah, binah, and dat, in other words, to bring it up to the brain, and now I should know that I have to follow that. Now it's not anymore an emotional love, but it has to get to the point that this is the right thing to do. And then to give over control to the brain that should be moach shabit al alev, that the brain should govern and should control, guide, and direct the heart, it's going to fall apart. The only way it's going to last is if it could start here. But then I have to give over control to the head, to the Torah. Now you're my boss, and that's that's the key to a relationship. If one gets married, and I remain boss, and it remains my way, it can't work. So sure, first I need to make the decision. If you please me. If you find favor in my eyes, I'm the one deciding. But once I made that decision, then you're the one who is deciding for me. My child is now deciding my destiny. I'm not deciding the destiny for my child. I'm the one who is deciding what's best for my child as a parent. But it's my child's well-being that is guiding me. That's the moach shalet al alev. This is the key to any issue that we have about our feelings, anger towards another person. I'm lazy. I don't have the energy. Whatever the case might be, whatever issue we're dealing with, we have to go back to the source to develop the chokhmah, binah, and da'at, to make the chokhmah, binah, and da'at healthy, strong, active, where it belongs, and then we could go back and deal with our emotions. If we want to get the shortcut without dealing it in the right way, it's a short way but a long way, because we're going to get stuck. It's not going to work. We're going to play yo-yo with our lives. And that's 99% of what every human being that you know and that you don't know, and the one that you don't know is yourself, that's what is happening in your and my life. If we don't realize that this is what is our problem, then that's why we have our ups and downs, and we're unsuccessful. And those of you who were yesterday at davening here at Chabad, you'll remember that that's what I was talking about: the stone, the rock of Yaakov, that the control of the brain over the heart. That's the punchline. That's what chapter 3 of Tanya is. It was in the context of the Pasha, but that's what it is. Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering, can the children, the emotions, be the drive for everything? Because the way I look at children and emotions is the most pure, innocent. The way I look at a child, I feel like children are closest to God. That's the way I view it, really. And I feel like when you're connected with your emotions and your gut feel, and you're close to God, and that can be the drive, then you start using your intellect towards it. Could that be opposite? So,
very good question, a very good point. And yes, and that's the start, and it starts with emotions and with love and with feelings, children. Mm-hmm. At the same time, you want the child to grow up and not to remain a child. You want the child to grow up and not to work with feelings only, because the feelings of a child is, one day, I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. The other day, you're not my father.
That's true, yeah.
And you're not my mother. That's what...
So emotions change.
Emotions change, are not stable. That's why children are very unstable. Yeah. That's reality. Mm-hmm. Now, so we want the child to grow up and not to drop out of school because I don't feel like going to school. Mm-hmm. And now I went from a little baby who says to the parent, you're not my father, to a teenager who drops out of school and tells the parent, you're not my parent and I don't want to have anything to do with you. And so yes, it starts with emotion.
The dropping out of school, is that actually because of the emotions, or could it be also the intellect telling him, hey, I want to do something else, I'm more passionate about something different? Would that be the intellect, not the emotion? I don't know.
I would like to meet the child who dropped out of school out of intellect and not out of emotion, and then I'll deal with that one in a very special, unique, unusual case. So yes, there are, and basically what it is the following. And I had this conversation recently with someone about a child who dropped out from school, a teenager. And the many times the children who drop out of schools, the reason they drop out of class and they don't do the homework and so on and so forth is because they're not challenged enough, because they're wasting their time, and they feel it and they don't know how to express it. So yes, it's because of this, but they're dropping out of emotions, not out of seichel. They don't do it out of the right mind. They're doing it out of emotions. They don't like it. There is a reason for it that we need to deal with, but the dropping out is emotional, generally speaking, more than intellectual. Yes, and then following that, we'll do the exercise, and then we'll continue with more discussion if needed, which there will be need, of course.
You were saying about people who get married they don't know each other, they divorce. There's also I read a report about people get married on condition, on certain conditions. Where after 2 years or 3 years go by and they can't have children, they go to the Rabbi, want to get divorced because we can't have kids. It's a whole different type of discussion.
Yeah, and there is many cases in marriage. There is many cases. Yes, there are marriages on condition. Yes, but right or wrong and what kind of conditions, and I mean, that's a separate conversation. There is many issues in marriage. I just brought one example. Not every marriage is that doesn't last. Is not in every case. It's because of this issue that we brought out, because of emotions. Many cases, the intellect dictates that they're not meant for each other, and according to halacha and to Torah guidelines, they shouldn't be together. Sure, there is that too, but I brought one example, one detail. Yes.
So what's the practical
Application of all this?
application for taking it from the heart feelings and getting the mind to govern it?
Very good question. To take a pen and to start filling out the back page.
Give me questions, God.
and then we'll discuss it. So there is pens in the middle. Don't be shy, and let's do it. And you could do it in any language you are comfortable. We'll take a few minutes, and then we will take it from there. What do? Describe the meaning of Chokhmah. Avi? Oh my goodness.
That's good description.
What I wrote is visualizing an abstract concept, a vision, principle, a framework, but not necessarily bringing it into action. All details and meanings are not quite expressed, and it does not realize it.
How did you have place to write so much? Could you tell us in English?
It's an abstraction, not realization. It's an understanding of what needs to be done, but not the details, what how to go about it.
Okay.
It's a gut feeling, but not necessarily an execution.
Okay. Good. Anyone has anything different? Please, yes.
Understanding the general idea, concept, and goal.
Okay. Anyone has anything different? Don't be shy. Yes.
It's wisdom. It's often we use the example of a building, right? You have the concept.
The concept. Okay.
Right, so it's basically the concept.
Concept. Good. Anyone? Intellect. Anyone else?
I wrote set of decisions which are based on personal experience, knowledge, and understanding of a situation.
Okay.
It's the father.
Anyone else?
Just put a spark.
Spark. Okay. Next, let's go on. So, I'll tell you what I wrote. I wrote 3 things in Hebrew. Torah of truth, the point of truth, Nekudat HaEmet, Habriach HaTichon, which is the internal beam that holds the entire building from falling apart from beginning till end.
Is that all in chapter 3?
These words are not in chapter 3.
That's
No, but that's what came to mind this morning to translate. Now, almost everything that was said is true, but let's continue. Describing the meaning of Bina. Let's start with Shmuel.
Okay. The understanding that creates a foundation of the thought.
The what?
The understanding that creates a foundation of the thought.
That creates the foundation of the thought. Okay? Anyone else? Yeah?
Very good.
Anyone?
Shake means
No, go for it.
learning the logic, reasoning, and technical aspects of the Chachma.
Anyone else? Very good.
I just put here, taking the abstract concept and filling in all the details. So I needed to work out what it would take to realize the concept.
Okay. Anyone else?
it's similar to what
Yeah.
you're saying. It's taking that concept and developing it. It's
Yeah.
development.
Yeah.
Okay.
Giving it a
Yeah,
deeper
sure.
meaning.
Yes.
Including the
Okay.
spiritual meaning.
So what I wrote is לימוד והעמקה, הרחבת הדעת להפשלה. It's an Aramaic expression. Learning, deepening, elaborating,
Developing.
and developing it. That's what bina is. Okay. Description of that. Yes.
The knowledge towards a total selective municipality of the future.
Again.
The knowledge towards a total selective municipality of the future.
English.
The knowledge towards full understanding and wisdom of everything that's already been created.
So what do you do about it?
It's like
The knowledge
all
means you know it
combined.
already.
Yeah,
So what is the practical application?
it's like. It's
What do
like
you
a
do
place-
with that?
Oh, you take it.
Do you do something
further.
about it, or is just a
You take it
automatic
further
result?
and use it towards anything that will bring full capacity of a person.
So that's the using the
Yeah.
wisdom and understanding.
Yeah.
Okay, I disagree. Sorry. Yeah.
I put internalizing the concept to the extent it impacts your emotions and subsequent actions.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm reframing what's here, but it's the connection and the unity and the intimacy of your mind and not together.
Okay.
I said, understanding the concept and actualization requirements and having the knowledge of what needs to be done to create, manage, and then maintain, manage, I cannot remember.
I guess it's not
And
that
endure,
now.
And endure.
Okay.
And
So why isn't that bina?
because the Bina deals with detail. For example, I can build a building, I can put, I have the Bina, Center of Chokhmah, and the whole structure, everything is placed, and I got a building.
Yeah.
But it's a dead building. Now I have to go and understand why the building is there, the details of the building, in order to create it, maintain it, and carry it forward.
So that's part of bina. I would put it in part of in bina.
That's the activity. It's an ongoing activity, an ongoing process.
Bina is also ongoing.
Once
Chokhmah is also ongoing.
on an item by item, no. On general principle, yes. Once you establish the framework, the framework is there.
I hear you. Anyone else? Yeah.
So, I mean, as Lee was saying on the chart, it's often being combined to be das. But, using the concept, etc., the mushal we used earlier, that if you have the idea, I want to build a house, right? And then the next step is, okay, I want to make it 2 levels with 3 bedrooms, etc., etc. You have this concept in your head, that's the bina. The das is you take that to the architect writes out makes up the drawings, all the details, etc. That's
Okay, so this is where I disagree with my limited knowledge, and including disagreeing with you as well.
I don't think you understood what I said, but whatever.
Obviously not. Okay,
What I wrote was a metaphor.
you're always right.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, okay.
What I wrote was a metaphoric idea of it, right? Knowledge towards a selective municipality. So the foundation is already made. So now you've got the municipality, you've got the full
Yeah.
thing of the future. So now you're using this municipality for the future, and I guess.
What is using it mean?
For the knowledge, for example.
How do you use it? What? Give me an example.
Okay, you've got a building, right? You've
Yeah.
already got the foundation.
Yeah.
Now you've got this municipality, and now you've got to do something with it.
So that's already love and fear. That's already the kids.
No, and that's the knowledge.
No, knowledge is before the children. Knowledge is still in the brain. It's before the children.
Oh, I see.
The choice of
So I did understand you, or I didn't understand you?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I see.
Okay. Either it belongs in Bina or it belongs already later. And
So that is more the practical.
so let me give you a very simple application of what da'at means. And those of you who were at the class a few weeks ago when we learned chapter 3 will remember that. When we were yeshiva students, and that's what I was saying about 6:45 in the morning, when we were yeshiva students, we were encouraged by our rabbis, teachers, mashpim, mentors, to do the following. We learn for an hour. What is learning? Chokhmah and Bina. Because you take a concept, that's what we're doing now. We take a concept, Chokhmah is these 3 pages. We're reading a concept. Bina is building on it. That's what we're doing with this exercise. Building on it and making sense of it, and that's what happens during learning. Expanding the Chokhmah, making sense of the Chokhmah while maintaining the Chokhmah all the time, not moving away from the point. Remembering the point, remembering the focus, which is what the Chokhmah is. So that's Chokhmah and Bina, that's the learning. Then what happens is, that's easy. To a certain extent, that's very easy. And we expect that after this, wow, this is so inspiring. I learned such a wonderful concept. Now, I need to apply it in life. What happens afterwards is, the minute we finish learning, and we go on with life, there is like a gap, like a paralyzation. There is no circulation of the blood and of whatever happened here to action and to our feelings. I understand I need to love God. I understand I need to love my children. I understand I need to love mitzvot. I understand I need to love my community. I understand I need to love my neighbor, but there is a blockage. It's not happening. I don't have that feeling. So that's where prayer comes in. However, prayer is that's where you made the mistake, the error, where you said that prayer is the application of it in action. But it's not. All it is what do we do when we pray? We say words of the Siddur, and we elaborate on it. We say it with our words, and we get emotional, and we shake, and we say it loud, and or we don't shake, or whatever it is. But it touches my heart, which is what we expect of a prayer. We want to feel a closeness to God. We want to feel a relationship or what. But many times it's not happening. Why? Because da'at was missing. What is the da'at that was missing? After I learned and I understood, whatever I understood or didn't understand what I didn't understand, but after I made sense, an hour, learned, built on a concept, now I need to internalize it. Now I need to get intimate. Now the father and the mother need to get united in order to give birth to a child. What is that intimacy? And even on the surface, there is many levels on it. But on the surface, what that means is closing the book, not thinking about the future, internalizing with my eyes closed, what did I learn? Not what am I going to do with what I learned. Not how is that going to impact my life. But to remember, to repeat what I learned from the book inside my brain. Without verbalizing it, without any external tools, without a pen, without a paper. Just myself. I'll remind you what we learned. Could anyone think about one topic, one subject, for 2 minutes straight without interruptions?
This holding
Depends on the earplugs.
it. Not even.
Not even earplugs, your mind.
What?
With ease.
With ease.
Sure.
With ease.
Yeah.
Really? You could do it.
Okay.
You're a tzaddik.
No.
What do you mean no? Yes, you are. Your mother always told me you're a tzaddik. You can't go against your mother. Yeah?
Yeah, but I don't know if she actually told you that.
So,
Now you're doubting.
so now you're doubting my truth.
God forbid.
So, what do you mean no? So,
It's
fine.
very hard because you always think about something else, right? Like you think and then
It's
you
almost impossible.
Mindfulness. You know how they say now mindfulness is the new way of living the moment, living it, really living it, experiencing it. So that's mindfulness. You
But reliving it not on an emotional level,
No.
but on an intellectual level. That is not here. That is here. And that means me connecting with the concept without looking at anything.
yeah.
It's very, very difficult. And that's the beginning of the cure, to connect with the concept.
It's meditation, right?
And that's meditation. That's meditation. Hitkashrut, hitbonenut, machashava, hitamkut, aliba de nafshe. Like aliba de nafshe is Aramaic, an expression le'omek hanefesh. Taking it to heart, but internalizing it. Very difficult. And one needs to train oneself. If you remember, I shared with you the story of what a mashpia, a mentor, told me once. What do you care if you pray the 5 minutes before praying? Why does it bother you if that's when you are successful? Does taking 5 minutes before prayer and meditating, connecting with the concept, is not less important than the entire hour of praying and verbalizing the words. I'm not saying it should take the place of verbalizing the words, because I could meditate about food. If I don't eat, then I'll starve to death, God forbid. So you do need to eat and to drink. So we do need to do practically what we need to do. But if we really want to have an impact on our emotions, very important. Let's go back to let's finish it. Let's go back here to Hayom Yom 22 of Tevet, and we'll finalize with that. The Rebbe Rashab said, just as wearing tefillin every day is a mitzvah commanded by the Torah to every individual, regardless of his standing in Torah, whether deeply learned or simple, so too is it an absolute duty for every person to spend a half hour every day thinking about the Torah education of children, and to do everything in one's power beyond one's power to inspire children to follow the path along which they are being guided. So never mind actually doing it, spending time with children. Spending time with children is very important. Taking time for oneself about spending time with children is more important. Because that's setting the tone, that's connecting with it. Just doing it, we have no choice. Of course I have to change the diapers of my child. Physically, or changing the diapers of my 10-year-old and 15-year-old and 1-year-old, with dealing with their garbage that they have in their heads and so on, and changing the diapers. Of course I have to take care of their needs. I have no choice. Of course I have to take care of my own needs and of my wife's needs and of my husband's needs. But to really think about it, to deepen in what am I doing in life, utmost important. The Rebbe said once, and I shared it in the past, that it is the Rebbe was crying emotional. I remember I was there when the Rebbe spoke about it. And it was in the early 80s. The Rebbe became emotional and said that one of the utmost important things to do today is that when one sits in an office on Wall Street, it was an expression of the Rebbe, in Wall Street with a carpet wall to wall, basically very, affluent, running a life, running business and so on and so forth, to close the eyes in middle of the day, for 1 minute, stop everything, think, what am I doing in this world? What is the purpose of my being here? And how am I doing? That's part of that. But the first step in that is, even before what am I doing here, is what is it that I learned? Not how do I fit in, but what is it that is demanded from me? Shema Yisrael. That's that. Connect with it. The Chochmah and Bina is the half hour of prayers leading to Shema Yisrael. The way the prayers are established is, there is the prayers, Psuke de Zimra, talking about the greatness of God, the relationship of God with the people, with the human beings that He has created, paying attention to the words, learning even before that. That's the creating the knowledge. That's going out on a date with my loved one, the one I want to fall in love, or the one I fell in love, and to see what let's make sense of it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about our relationship. And I'll tell you how good you are. You'll tell me how good I am. I'll tell you how good I am. You'll tell me how good you are. And that's all. And that's what prayers are. But then it comes to a point. Close your eyes. Go back home after that hour, that half hour of the Chochmah and Binah. Shema Yisrael. A moment of silence. Close everything around you. Connect with it, get intimate with it. Then you could create the love. Love your God. Without it, the Alter Rebbe refers to it in chapter 3. It's dimyonot shav. The love that we have with God is false imaginations. And this is the exact same thing in any relationship. If we don't do it, it's a relationship that is on the surface. It's false love. It's not true love. It's very superficial. Superficial is not the Bria Chatichon, is not the internal thing. So what do we do? How do I do when I need to control my emotions and actions? That's a lifetime work, and everyone knows what we need to do. Start learning, start connecting, and then it's going to happen.
We're going to finish this next week, or you done?
Either we'll continue, I don't know, should we continue next week, or should we move on?
No, I think we should finish it.
Yeah, I want to continue.
We should continue this next week, okay.
You keep this one, please, Evan?
Your name is on it? Okay.